All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Fightonomics podcast. Another one for 2019, episode 6. It is Marcus here again with Yusuf and Damien.
We're back at it,
Let's
folks.
go.
We haven't left the building. We're still here.
Yes, sir. Episode 6. Let's get it.
And a lot to get into. You had UFC Fortaleza, UFC Fight Night back on Saturday. You still have the fate of the flyweights in question. The UFC 235 presser. We had the NSAC, Nevada State Athletic Commission, ruling on Khabib and Conor. We have UFC 234 coming up this weekend. Kelvin Gastelum, Robert Whittaker for the middleweight title, and a fight we previewed a lot at the end of 2018. Silva, Anderson, a Spider Silva, arguably the greatest of all time, against Israel, the last style bender, Adesanya, the next John Jones Silva, but he might be the next Israel. Adesanya himself is going to be fighting this weekend. So definitely two fights to look for on that card to preview. And then we got some big fights coming up next. We also had Bellator. But I'd say let's get right into it. We'll kick it off, I think, would be fair to kick it off with UFC Fortaleza. Marlon Moraes, I think, would be a great way to start.
Let's kick it.
Finishes Assunção with the guillotine in the first round, drops him, looks great. I guess let's get your thoughts. I guess we'll kick it off with you, Damien. What did you think of the main event at UFC Fortaleza?
I mean, it was everything that I expected it to be. I mean, I honestly thought it was going to go the full distance, but that guillotine, man, that was just something beautiful to behold. I was really, really impressed with Moraes, and I honestly don't see anything. I see nothing but great things for this guy in his future. I mean, we want to talk about the state of the bantamweight and how it might be a little bit cluttered and in a bit of stasis right now, considering TJ and Cejudo. But Moraes has definitely punched his ticket, I think, to a title shot in the future. So, like I said, nothing but good things in the future for him. And yeah, really impressed.
Yeah, what are your thoughts, Yusuf?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as Damien. Actually, it's the more exciting, the more excitement it can bring to the bantamweight division, the better it is. Like the more it can grow the division. So I'm in the
Agreed.
same boat
Yep.
as I'm in the same boat as you, Damien. It was pretty
And
impressive to watch that.
And honestly, like even beforehand, like I had Raphael taking the fight. I mean, like I didn't really necessarily buy into the hype for Moraes just yet. I mean, yeah, he had the win against Rivera and Sterling, but I felt like against Raphael, like I honestly thought he was just gonna put a stop to him, a bit like he did the last time. I think they fought before and he lost. What was it? Did he lose a unanimous or a split decision to him back at?
Yeah, it was a split decision. Yeah, it was
Okay.
Moraes' UFC debut. Very close
So
fight.
exactly. So I thought he was just going to be his Achilles heel going forward again, and he was just going to put an end to his three or four fight win streak. But no, pleasantly surprised with him, man. I mean, like if there's anyone that is going to be a breakout star in the 135-pound division right now, it's definitely Moraes. So like I said, nothing but good things in store for that man. What do you think,
Yeah,
Marcus?
there was a couple things leading up to the fight. I thought Moraes' power was definitely something to look out for. And again, it kind of showed up in the fight. I was live tweeting the event for a little school assignment for Twitter,
Yep.
and I kind of didn't want to put myself out there, but I should have because I would have looked like Mystic Marcus himself yet again. But I thought that Moraes' power was just going to be too much. I thought that Assunção, I don't think he was going to be on the same level power wise with Moraes, and I think it showed again. I just think Moraes right now is probably one of the heaviest hitters at 135, along with probably TJ. But TJ is more a little bit with volume and his signature head kick.
Yeah.
But I really did think that Moraes' power, I think, is just too much right now, and it was too much for Assunção. I think it showed. I think the most interesting thing to take away from the fight is obviously the performance of Moraes, but I think it's, again, we'll go back to it again, it's the state of the flyweight division.
Yep.
To me, and again, this just leaves like, where are we going to go with the flyweights here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm curious to get your thoughts, Damien, again, because now you have Moraes and Ariel Helwani again on his show posed the solution of forget the champ business, and a lot of people have agreed with them, fighters included. Forget the champ business. Let's get down to it. We'll go with Moraes and Dillashaw at 135 for the title, and we'll go back down with Cejudo and Benavidez, and then the winner can kind of face off. If Cejudo wants to move up after that, yes, but still keep the flyweights going. There's a storyline there with the rematch with Benavidez and Cejudo. I kind of like that idea, but I am still kind of and now that I say it out loud, I kind of like the idea, but I'm still kind of, on the side of let's bring Cejudo up and let's get Cejudo a title shot, and Moraes can kind of sit out and wait because, as his manager said, Ali Abdelaziz, the colorful character that he is, he won't be taking a title. Yeah, he won't be taking a title or a fight until he gets a title shot, and he's got one fight left on his deal, so he's going to be doing some renegotiating. So there's a couple options there. What do you think is the best option, Damien?
Yeah, honestly, I mean, like, ever since we started this podcast, I mean, like, this has been a common trope throughout all our episodes. Just what is going to happen to the 125 pounds? And I staunchly came out in the beginning of this podcast saying that we got to keep these guys. I mean, we had the big names like Conor and Khabib saying that these guys got to put food on their tables just like every other family has to. So I can relate to a fighter, a 125-pound fighter in that sense. But I mean, and I honestly thought that going forward, we'd see more and more evidence of why we should have this concrete evidence to keep the 125-pound division. But I mean, like you said, like bantamweight is like, it's just on fire right now. And the storylines aside, if you get the meritocracy of the rankings back in order, the matchups do seem pretty legit that you could make it 135. I mean, if Cejudo wants to start it off by going up and getting the 135-pound division, then go for it. But I honestly think that it looks like we can do without the 125-pound division at this point. But again, I'm not holding my breath by saying that. But the evidence is mounting, and I honestly think that by and large, we'll probably see a cap to it sooner rather than later, as much as I don't want to say that.
Yeah, I'm curious to get Yusuf's thoughts on where he thinks what's next for the flyweights. Do we got him there? Or we might have lost him here.
Yusuf?
All right, we might have had to lose him there. I think we might have to soldier on, just us two. Not sure if his mic is muted. We'll soldier on here, but I think we might have dropped him. But to keep soldiering on, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely continue.
We can definitely continue. Let's continue. For me, I kind of think that the flyweights, like, again, I'm still conflicted with the flyweights. Like, I like the idea, and I really do like the idea of Cejudo moving down from Benavidez. And I do honestly, I'm kind of contradicting my thought process here. Usually I'm all for making the right fights and making a fight for the purist.
Yep.
But in terms of, I just think of storylines of high level fighting. Not to say that Benavidez or Moraes aren't high level fighters. Mm-hmm. I just think we need to see TJ Dillashaw and Henry Cejudo again very soon, as soon as we can, at 135. Or at 125, but I would prefer 135. I just think there's that whole storyline there. There's a kind of that little star in the making with Cejudo. I think he can sort of maybe he can still save the flyweights by going up and taking the 135-pound belt. Although I don't see the UFC granting him that. Mm-hmm. I just think it's a little bit, there's just too many different variables. I would say I'm kind of conflicted a little bit. At a loss a little bit, kind of of where to go with it.
It's crazy because like I initially was so focused on just like, okay, how can we scrap together some matchups for the flyweight division? But honestly, like the way 135 is just set up, I mean, you have so many potential. I mean, bangers of fights right now. I mean, you can possibly even get like Dominic if he comes back healthy to potentially face Moraes for like an interim maybe, while you get like Cejudo and TJ doing their rematch, and then you can have like all the other guys like fight for like specific spots and to see if they can actually do potential fights later on in the future. So even though like I'm head first into thinking where 135 is headed, I don't want to say this, but I kind of put 125 to the side. I mean, like, sure, like you said, purists like us will always want to see the best fights, regardless of weight division. But at the end of the day, like we always say, the UFC is a business, and they got to do what's best for business at the end of the day. And if they honestly feel like scrapping the 125-pound division is not best for business, then I don't want to say so be it, but maybe that's just what has to happen for the 135 pounders to get their spotlight.
Yeah, I guess that's what needs to happen here. But I mean, just to keep it simple, as I'm just going through the options, I definitely I know I agree with you at the same time. You know what I mean? Like we kind of
Yeah.
have a little bit of a different viewpoint.
Yep.
I just think for simplicity's sake, I kind of like the idea of having Benavidez and Cejudo fighting it out, and then having Moraes just because of his dominance and his I believe he's on a 5-fight win streak, a 4-fight win streak. He's got finishes and all. He's got his last 3 fights. I think he's taking 5 strikes combined.
Crazy.
And he's finished all of his last 3. He finished Sterling, obviously, with that signature finish with the kind of dab himself, joked around Sterling
Yep.
that finish. He had the Jimmy Rivera, the head kick.
Yep.
And then he had this Sun Sal fight where he stopped him, dropped him, and finished off with the guillotine. So he's making a very strong case for 135. Again, putting on my little UFC marketing hat, there's a little bit of star power there, but I don't think there's what you have in Cejudo versus Dillashaw and what you had on ESPN Plus. So it'll be interesting, but I think just especially with Cejudo's comments, which we could have alluded to more this week. He's kind of in between. And then another thing too, quickly, I think we should just get into it really quickly because we haven't touched on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a little bit surprised. We might have a little bit, but the new belts. What did you think about the new belts? I'm curious to get your thoughts on what you thought about the new belts.
I mean, like it honestly it's a completely, to me, it's just a completely like superficial thing. Sure, it looks nice, but I mean, on a personal level, it doesn't do anything for me. I'd like to say. I mean, sure, they're the nice additions to it with the nation's representation and whatnot, and the extra set of diamonds encrusted on it. It's a nice touch, and I like it, but I'm kind of like I have no opinion on it. Basically, it's nice for what it is. It adds to the namesake legacy, I guess. But other than that, I mean, I wasn't expecting like a trophy of any sort of sense. Like it's all right. It's all right. What about you?
Yeah. I kind of like him and I don't. I hate to be that guy in the middle again.
I felt the exact same way.
I want to have like a strong opinion on them and come out with a take. Yep. I hate to be that guy who's always kind of in the middle, but I just they don't really do much for me.
Exactly.
Cool at the same time, but they're kind of like gimmicky at the same time, if you know what I mean. I prefer the old belts. I really do. If you held a gun to me, I prefer the old belts. I really think they could have done more with the belts.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's nice for what it is. I mean, like it adds to the namesake of being a legacy belt, but I mean, like again, I'm kind of like of no opinion to it, and I like we both said, like I don't want to be that guy where it's like, yeah, it's cool, but it's whatever. But this is one of those odd topics where it's like I literally have no opinion or reaction to it, so I can't really comment on it further. Other than that,
speaking of sort of the things we alluded to in the last podcast of 2018, the new belts and maybe what they would do with the fighter rankings. Another fight at UFC Fortaleza was Jose Aldo. Great finish against
goodness.
That was, and the King of Rio is back. He flew into this crowd.
Scarface is back, baby.
I remember when he finished Chad Mendes.
Oh my God, man!
At the end of the first round, he hit him. He turned, hit him with that knee, dropped him in Rio, and then went flying into the crowd like a hero, like he claiming his throne. But speaking of that, and the new kind of things we discussed, just in preparation and just even looking up, Jose Aldo is number 1 in the featherweight rankings, which I found was very interesting.
Something I never would have expected.
Featherweight is getting a little bit thin, but I mean, you look, he was 2-3 in his last 5. He had those 2 losses to Holloway, the loss to McGregor.
Yep.
And then now he's gotten those. Now he has back-to-back wins over Jeremy Stevens in his last fight. Great finish to the body.
Yep.
And also he had a finish.
That was classic Aldo, by the way. Those nasty body shots.
His hands.
Yeah, it was just like vintage Jose Aldo, and seeing that and seeing I'm just happy for him. It's crazy that Aldo is back in the spotlight for featherweights.
Yeah, but great finishes. But
Yep.
in terms of having him number one, like I can read you out the rankings. We got Aldo number one, Ortega number two, which I think would be kind of foreshadowing again, maybe getting another topic in here is
Hmm.
Ortega versus Aldo in Brazil, which is where Aldo wants to fight. I
Yep.
think would be an amazing fight. You kind of leave then Edgar then you kind of leave Edgar into the mix. You get Edgar kind of into the mix against Holloway, but then again, Edgar only has what that one win over. I mean, who's Edgar fought in his last fight? If
I think
correct me if I'm
Edgar's
wrong,
fought. I think was it Swanson or Ortega? One of those, or was it?
he
It may have
fought.
been Swanson. I think may have been Cub.
He lost. I think he's coming off a loss
Yeah.
to Ortega. So I mean, to give him a title shot, it's kind of the featherweight division's in a weird spot. I honestly do
Oh,
think. That's
actually,
why I think
I
it's
just checked it. He's coming off a unanimous decision win off Cub
yeah,
Swanson.
Cub
Yeah.
Swanson.
Yeah.
He, I mean, he does have. Look, if we're looking here, he does have. He's 3-2 in his last five, but he had a good win streak going before that. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, so if you look at that, he's about what? He's about 8-2 in his last 10.
Pretty
8 out of
much.
his last 10, he's beat some good opponents. I mean, he beat BJ, he's beat Charles Oliveira, Cub Swanson twice, Faber,
Yeah. Yeah.
Mendez, Yair, Stevens. He's got some good wins. So, maybe there is a case for him, but I think that should be. I kind of agree with, again, Ali Abdelaziz, the outspoken manager for a lot of these fighters. And I definitely think Frankie Edgar would be a good matchup against Holloway. And then you kind of have Ortega and Aldo go at it in Brazil. Interesting to see that Jose Aldo also wants to retire at the end of the year. He says he's got 3 fights
Three
left in
fights
him this
left.
year.
Yep. Hmm.
Maybe boxing. I mean, he's using his hands a lot more. But what are your thoughts on the whole state?
Yeah, I mean, I'm first and foremost like good on Aldo, man. It's just so great seeing him just rise back from that ultimate defeat he suffered at the hands of Conor McGregor all the way back in 2015. As per what's next, I could definitely see him going after Ortega. Ortega did come out the other day and say that he actually wants to sign on the dotted line forward too. He's down for the fight. Going back to McGregor, what he said he'd love to come back to Brazil too. And Aldo did make subtle connections or hinted towards a potential rematch with McGregor in Brazil too. So I mean, if he wants to come back after whenever and just square up with Aldo again, then who knows? Maybe we can get a rematch off that. But more than likely, I could definitely see this. Venturing out to being an Aldo versus Ortega fight. Definitely, I think that's where it's going. I think.
Yeah,
I think before we continue, I think Yusuf is back. Yusuf, do you have any input on the state of
I'm
145?
back, boys.
we got him back. We got him back. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yusuf, what do you think about 145?
Oh, the state of the 145 division.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
I think Aldo's making his. The one thing I like about Aldo is you see most fighters, if they suffered the loss that he suffered against McGregor, you would see like their career go like downhill. But he's managed to really like balance it out and be on his way back up. So I like that about Aldo, and I think I still think Max Holloway is still the pound for pound best, but right now I think Aldo is he might be the GOAT of the featherweight division, but in my opinion, I think he might try to finish out maybe fighting for the belt, and then if he wins that belt again, I think he might retire. That's my feeling, and he might retire on top. That's what I feel he's aiming for, or he's aiming for like a rematch with McGregor. That's what I always feel like.
yeah. I think that's a good point. That's a very good point. Is the whole McGregor fight too? Another thing I was thinking about, and good thing you brought it up. And that's another angle. That's another great fight. There's a lot of options for Aldo. In terms of the
He needs
rankings, I
to
guess.
avenge that loss.
Yeah, and in terms of the rankings, I guess having Aldo at number one though, I guess kind of just shows how thin the divisions kind of is a little bit. Like, I mean,
Yup,
there's some good fighters
100%.
on there, but I mean, in terms of having Aldo number one, I mean, he's 3-3 in his last, 3 fights. He's only beat Stevens and Moicano, and then those fights after losing to a Holloway twice. So if you're gonna
Huh?
have if you're gonna have Jose
Pretty
Aldo just
devastating
beating
losses too.
Jeremy Stevens and Moicano, and that's gonna give him a title shot. I mean, and it's kind of been like that in the past with Uriah Faber getting title shots towards the end as
Yeah.
well. But I mean, Jose Aldo is one of the best. He deserves another title shot if he's gonna get one.
I think if he beats Ortega, if it's him and Ortega, and if he beats Ortega, I think
Yeah,
you might
definitely
have to give him a title shot against Holloway.
another one. Yeah, I definitely think so. There's a couple different options there, so I don't know. Curious.
I
Quick
just
take,
hope I just hope if that's the case, if he does get the trilogy fight with Holloway, I just hope it doesn't turn into like Jose Aldo's version of like BJ Penn and Frankie Edgar, because I don't want to see Aldo take another L to
Yeah,
Holloway again. That
I
was
agree with
heartbreaking.
that. I think he'd have to make some changes with the striking. I think he's focused a lot, and I still see it in the Stevens fight and the Moicano fight
Mhm.
is with his boxing, which is really crisp and really good. But I think he just needs to use a lot more kicks. He's gotten away from the kicks in his past few fights. I've noticed, even against Holloway, and I just think that's a weapon that he was so famous for, that he made well known. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
remember him
100%.
chopping down Frankie Edgar and chopping down guys like Ricardo Lamas and Mark Hominick and Chen Sung Jung and different
Yeah.
fighters that he's had
Sam
throughout.
Mendes.
Chad
Florian.
Mendes, the flying knee that we alluded to. So
Mhm.
honestly, I do think yeah, you can make a case for Aldo, and I guess curious quickly, what are your guys' thoughts on the rankings? Do you think the rankings are posing a problem, or do you think they're what are your sort of thoughts on the rankings? We'll get into quickly. We've got into the belts before. What are your thoughts on the rankings?
Yeah. Are we talking overall rankings for each division or specific
Just in
division? Or
terms of having the rankings, like, do you think the UFC should keep the rankings, get rid of the rankings? Like,
yeah, I mean, like, at my core, I'm a Law and Order guy. I like to have these things straightened out just to see who's who. But in terms of the way this fight culture in the UFC has been moving forward, it really doesn't matter. To make a case for it, where rankings do matter in the long run. I mean, like, if we're just giving out interim, like for example, if I were to take welterweight for example, just taking just like Colby getting his interim title, but not really. Is he supposed to be the first one ahead of the top 10? But he hasn't been fighting for God knows how long right now. But it just shows you that when you mix things like interim belts with like fighters being active or inactive for the most part, rankings don't really represent the totality of them making sense. So it's good to have in hindsight, but they really don't make much sense when you're following along, in my view.
yeah. I'm curious to see what you think about the rankings, Yusuf.
Yeah, I'm looking at them right now. Actually, the pound for pound rankings. Yeah, especially like as Damien said, especially like the welterweight division and all those like interim belts and everything, kind of like complicates everything in a way. But but overall, I mean, right now Daniel Cormier is the number one pound for pound fighter, and then it's Khabib, and then Max Holloway.
Yeah.
So that pretty much like you can't really disagree with what uh, is on here for pound fighters.
Yeah,
Like I
I
said,
think
oh, sorry, man. Go ahead.
no, I was
Go
just
ahead,
gonna jump
Marcus.
in and just say, in terms of pound for pound, I think it's more debatable. I think pound for pound rankings are cool.
Yeah,
Official, I don't know how official you want to make them. I think they're cool. They're good debate. They're good fodder between people. But in terms of
sometimes
the
it doesn't tell the
divisions,
story.
yeah, and I mean in terms of having division rankings, I think the thought process behind starting them, and a lot of people have said, was the Fox deals, that in order to get Fox and be on a bit network, you kind of needed the rankings so that fans can understand where the fighters stand in the state of their own division, right?
Yep.
In terms of now, I don't really see the need. I just a little bit. Again, there's two folds to it, right? Like, I mean, it keeps kind of things in line and everything, but at the same time, it holds up fights. Like, I mean, you might have a number one guy saying, "Well, I'm number one. I should be next in line for a
Yeah.
title shot." But
That's a good
number
point.
one, like Jose Aldo, does he really deserve a third crack at Max Holloway? I mean, Frankie
Mm.
Edgar, I think, deserves more of another crack at Max Holloway or a crack at Max Holloway
Yeah,
rather
because they
than
were supposed to
Aldo,
square up
right?
before, but they
And
never
and
did.
and and Edgar took the fight against Ortega, which he didn't really have to do, and maybe he gets rewarded for that. But UFC Fortaleza was a great card, all in all. I mean, we had Damian Maia get us his 20th UFC win, tying him for second with GSP and Bisping, and tying him for second with submission wins in the octagon
Legend.
with the legend
Absolute
Hoist
legend.
Gracie.
Has
Yep.
His
has he
inspiration.
ever won a fight by a
Stand
strike,
up?
like finish? I don't think
That's-
he's ever won a fight by a striking finish. I think it's all been submission.
That's a good question. I mean, we can look into it right now.
UFC 102 against Nate Marquardt KO.
I'll
Back
always
in-
remember that one.
Oh,
I
Back
remember
in
that was
2009?
Nate Marquardt,
yeah,
bro,
that was probably
that guy
my
got knocked
third
out by all of
pay-per-view
us,
I
bro.
opened.
I feel like he's been knocked out by the whole UFC.
Yeah, that was probably the third or fourth pay-per-view I ever watched.
We have a
Entire-
knockout win against Nate Marquardt.
Everybody in the world has one win in their win column against Nate
Yeah,
Marquardt.
Yeah,
that
but
guy
that's
bring the
Maya.
smoke.
That's Maya getting knocked out by Nate. If you remember, he hit him with a straight right.
All right.
Maya kind of went in with a leg kick to try to set up his takedown very early, like 30 or 40 seconds in, and Marquardt timed it perfect and came right over the top with a straight right, clipped him on the side of the head, right in the temple, and just dropped him. And didn't hit him while he was down too. He could have, and he just kind of held him. And that was like a #1 contender fight. That was a big fight in the middleweight division. But yeah, that was one of the third or fourth fights I've ordered. But finishing by strikes, I don't think he's ever won. His last fight he won was by strikes, was a TKO on Dong Young Kim, the stun gun.
Oh, was it Dong Yeon Kim? Okay.
Don
Yeah.
Kong, Don Young Kim.
So, and I think that's the only one he's won by punches is his first ever fight against Raul Sosa, Venezuela. His first ever professional fight. Other than that, he beat Ryan Stout on a shoulder injury.
I mean, I guess like just as a testament to Damian Maia, I mean, like it just shows, just goes to show you that the longevity of this guy. Exactly, and it really shows in the longevity of how long he's been in the UFC from 07 right up until 2019, just last weekend. I mean, like Yusuf said, he mastered his craft over the years, and he showed it. I mean, fans can attest to whether or not they are a fan of his actual game, but real hardcore fans like ourselves will look at him and just see like a chess game in motion as to what he's doing when he just starts backpacking you. I mean, it really just goes to show you that he's mastered his style and his craft, and he's perfected it to the level of that he can stay in this game in spite of his age. I mean, how old is this guy? He's like,
I believe he's 40.
Late 30s?
Late 30s, early 40s. I think he's plus 40.
And
but,
I mean, yeah, exactly.
I
and
mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter how you win, as long as you win. In what's it called? It doesn't matter if you win by KO, by submission, by decision. I think that's how they base it off. They base it off the record.
Yeah.
So if you're 20-0 and you have 20 wins by decision, doesn't really matter. You're still probably a champion.
Really good point. Matter. Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely. So there was also the Johnny Miller spinning elbow, which was a good finish. I mean, all in all, it was a good card. And just quickly, I think we should touch upon 2 quick points, or maybe 3, before getting into the nitty gritty of why we got this going on right now. The UFC 234 preview. We had the UFC 235 presser, which was interesting. We had Usman and Woodley and Askren kind of going at it.
Shout out to Funky, man. Shout out to Funky.
Yeah, it was good. There was some good back and forth there. We had Jones and Smith on the podium as well. Garbrandt was there. I mean, UFC 235. You want to talk about a preview? I mean, we have to dedicate a whole maybe hour to that one. I mean, it is.
So we could probably just talk about the presser for now, because I guess 235 is definitely.
I'm alluding to that. Yeah, we'll definitely get to that in a podcast in the future. But I mean, just going through the card, we have Jones and Smith as the main event, Woodley and Usman as the co. We have Lawler and Askren, Holly Holm, who defeated Ronda Rousey, which she's known for fighting.
Cody Garbrandt.
That fight is actually off, I think.
Oh yeah, I believe they actually.
Yeah, Holly Holm and Aspen
Ladd. On the UFC website. Yeah, that's right. They might have scratched it. But we have Tisha Torres, Zabit versus Jeremy Stevens.
My 2019 fighter.
Misha Serkinov.
What about
Diego Sanchez, Mickey Gale?
Gale.
That, I mean, it's a stacked card all in all. Good presser. I mean, we have to really break it down, but I think we just alluded to it quickly.
Yeah.
And then we also had the Nevada State Athletic Commission ruling, which I mean is another interesting topic. We've gotten into the whole Conor McGregor thing.
Mm-hmm.
Khabib suspended for a year, fined 500K. His suspension would get reduced if he does like a PSA, like a public service
Yeah,
announcement for
the
like
anti-bullying thing.
not
Yeah.
gonna do. His teammates
Mm.
actually got suspended for the year too. The couple of the guys who got in there and scrapped with McGregor in the octagon. So
Mhm.
interesting to note, though, Khabib will not be fighting in Nevada ever again. He said, which I kind of do believe him. And also, he'll be sitting out no
No,
matter what until his fighters come back. So, and another interesting point: McGregor only got 6 months and a 50K
no,
fine. So, what
50K.
are your
That's
guys'
pocket
thoughts
change
on
for
that?
that guy.
What are your guys' thoughts on that?
You
Fair,
want to kick it
unfair?
off, Yusuf? Because I'm about to get heated on this in a
Ooh,
second.
about to get heated, eh?
Oh yeah, gonna
Man,
bring the fire on this BS. Go. Oh
man,
no,
oh man.
go ahead, Yusuf. I'll kick it. I'll retort.
You want to kick it? Okay, okay. Actually, okay. This is what I feel. Okay? I think, uh, I and this is tough because I feel like McGregor should have got like a more because during the fight, I think Khabib did the most like Khabib and his team did the most damage. But you got to remember that McGregor before the fight, he was the one that he called him names and everything like that, and he got his whole team pissed off. So he's the reason why Khabib and his team they reacted the way they did. Because, and I feel like you gotta what's it called? You gotta punish McGregor because for for what he what's it called for what he caused in a way. That's how I feel. I feel like it should have been at least close to even. Like, don't make it so like. I think like Khabib got fined what 200 was it
500
250 or
500K
500. You
500K.
can't make it. He fined this guy 500K and you find McGregor 50. At least make it 250 each. That's how I look at it. Like they're both at fault. Like they're both at fault. There's
Yeah.
no one person that's doing all the damage. Both of them did the damage. So I feel like it's pretty. I don't know. I just feel like the UFC is just protecting their golden boy. That's how I feel like, and Khabib has to take the bigger like punishment.
Yeah, I mean, like getting like just to preface the actual ruling. I mean, if you even go back to like the whole post bus attack thing,
Yeah, that
McGregor,
too.
what did he get? He pleaded. I think he pleaded no contest to some disorderly conduct charge, and he did like a few days of community service and
Hmm.
maybe some anger management classes. But again, didn't suffer what I think was the bigger like attack based on the story between the two. But in regards to the NSAC ruling, I mean, 500K versus 50K, that's the thing that
That's
really
pretty,
grinds my
man.
gears. Luke Thomas on his MMA show alluded to the fact that this sets a very dangerous precedent, guys. I mean, like if you're gonna like where are they pulling these numbers out from? I mean, 50K versus 500K, they're making this stuff up as they go along, essentially. And I mean, like
Yep.
if they're just handing out these rulings just as is, this sets a very dangerous precedent going forward. And I mean, like I'm not expecting any sort of brawl or like sort of like craziness to happen in future events, but
Hmm.
God forbid there are. Like, can NSAC just say, "Oh, look, we gave Khabib 500K this time. Maybe this fighter who caused all this chaos in this specific event will now get 750K." I mean, like, for what? Where is this coming from? This is just a very dangerous precedent that's being set. And again, like Yusuf, like you said, they're both wrong. They were both wrong in this
Yep.
situation. But there has to be some balance between the punishments
Yeah.
handed out, and it was
Exactly.
just,
That's what I'm
and
saying.
yeah, and it was just completely, I think, completely unfair towards Khabib. What do you think, Marcus?
Surprisingly, I'll keep it short and sweet.
Yeah,
Um, I I think like you said, I think we're heading down a dangerous path with this ruling. To me, it was pretty obvious what Nevada was going to do. I kind of saw it coming. It's no surprise that McGregor obviously got less. It's no surprise how the way Khabib reacted. It's just typical. It's just the typical fallout and typical politics, I guess, of what happened.
Politics.
We got into it so much in the past that I kind of like, everyone kind of knows my thoughts on it. I just think moving forward, I think the UFC is in an interesting spot. I feel like McGregor is going to be back sooner rather than later. Maybe with a fight with Cowboy on the horizon, I can kind of see that happening.
Yeah.
I think a fight with Holloway, which is what Yusuf brought up first, would be a great fight. In terms of like the punishment, obviously it's just ridiculous. I mean, to give Khabib the 500K and make him do the anti-bullying PSA to reduce it to 6 months, and then give his teammates
Why don't you make McGregor do that too?
And all that, and then the state athletic commission saying they're going to monitor fighters talking smack, which I don't
that's
agree
another
with.
big thing. That is crazy
Yeah.
what they said there. It's like I can't believe I found myself agreeing with Dana White again. Here we are. Like, that is one of the most ridiculous things ever. You're in the fight business. These things will be said. You cannot limit or put actual limitations on what a person is able to say. Otherwise, that just defeats the holisticness of the business that you're in. You're in combat sports. You're fighting. I mean, like that in and of itself is ridiculous too. If they ever try to go forward with that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's just, I mean, I'm all for more respect and more integrity and more what's the word I'm looking for? Just more, all in all, just more respect. It's as simple as that. Just more respect between the fighters, and less of this whole hoopla, and less of this whole show, and building a fight and selling a fight and cutting a promo. I mean, this isn't the WWE. This is real life. This is real fighters. We've gone over this. So for me, at the same time, though, I don't think you should be monitoring what the fighters say. Now, do I think in the end it'll bite the fighter in the you know what? Yeah, it'll bite the fighter in the you know what anyways. I mean, we saw it happen with McGregor. But at the end of the day, the athletic commission is going to do what they got to do. They've seen it kind of get out of control at the hands of obviously one man, Conor McGregor. And then it's simple as that. They had the UFC and the athletic commission and the fighters involved. Everyone's kind of got their own hand to blame in it. I don't think it was that big of a deal. I'm glad this whole ordeal is over with. I think we should just move on and move on with Khabib and Tony and Conor versus whoever, and set up a rematch. And then there's Poirier kind of still lingering, like Quinta. There's different guys lingering. Let the chips fall, let the dust settle. There's different options, like we see with the flyweights and bantamweights. It'll be an interesting time. And then also we had another thing to get into quickly is Bellator. We had Ryan Bader. I think that was the biggest fight of the card. Obviously, the main event, the biggest talked about fight besides Aaron Pico, which I guess we can get into very quickly too. His loss, young fighters, concussions, interesting. But Ryan Bader, good win for him. But I mean, just quickly, I don't know. For me, I kind of saw it coming.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just been so many
too easy
before.
I think it's too easy for him.
The entire tourney itself, you kind of felt that after the King Mo fight, like this is just gonna go Ryan Bader's way, 100%. There was no way Fedor was gonna stop him. No way at all.
Yeah, exactly. Fedor is just the name. I feel like it's Fedor, but he's past his prime. Like, he's not nowhere close to the fighter that he was when he was with Pride and Strikeforce.
Yeah. It's more so like a brand at this point too. I mean, Bellator would like to use his name as a brand. Like, exactly.
Come watch this MMA legend. Basically, it's as bad as it sounds. Get knocked out.
No, that's essentially what it is, man. That's essentially. But can we talk about for a sec? Oh yeah, go ahead, man.
I was just gonna say, like, Ryan Bader, I think if he was in the UFC, I think he would be maybe top 5 light heavyweight in the UFC. That's
definitely.
No longer the easiest fight in the division that Daniel Cormier once said.
That'd be a good fight to set up with them and co-promote. That's
that's what I was going to say.
If MMA is ever going to get into co-promotion and go all out, I think this would be the perfect fight to do it. But I can't see that happening.
No, not the
foreseeable future. I feel like if Cormier, if he faced Bader, I mean, not Bader. I'm putting Fedor and Bader together. I think if he faced Bader and he made him look really bad, I think it would look really bad on Bellator. So I think that's why it probably won't happen.
Yeah, definitely. I think too another thing with old fighters, we talked about it before, and Brendan Schaub was very adamant and coined it, and Joe Rogan has kind of supported him on that. Is like when you get to a certain age, when you go through so many wars, eventually your brain's just, as soon as you get hit with that shot, your brain's just gonna turn off, and you won't be able
Yeah,
to take the shot as you did before, and your brain's just gonna say, "I've had enough. I can't take no more. I'm shutting off." And that's I think
yeah,
where we're at with Fedor. I think any good shot, any hard shot, it's gonna do it's gonna take its course, and we might be there with the co-main event. And I'm this is kind of my prediction if we're gonna do our kind of picks for this for the co-main and the main event for UFC 234 down in Melbourne, down in Australia. Israel Adesanya,
hmm
Anderson Silva. That's the way I
hmm
see that fight going. I think Israel Adesanya is as soon as it'll be interesting if he lands one clean shot and Anderson is able to take it, doesn't show any signs of dropping or that he's hurt. I think Anderson Silva has a chance at winning the fight. But if he shows any signs of being hurt with that first clean shot that Adesanya lands, whether it be a kick, whether it be a strike, a knee, whatever it is, I think it's going to be an easy finish and rise to superstardom for the last style bender. What do you guys think?
Well, I
Go
mean,
ahead,
like, yeah,
Damien.
yeah, man. I mean, like,
Yeah,
Brendan
man.
Schaub, yeah, man. Brendan Schaub, he pretty much hit the nail on the head with this one. I think honestly, if I were to honestly objectively look at this fight, we want to be able to praise Spider as like this guy who's coming back to form and who will possibly return to greatness. But objectively looking at this fight, I honestly see the last style bender obliterating Silva. I mean, like I don't think it's like style bender Israel Adesanya compared to Anderson Silva. I know, but I don't know any other person to compare him to. He is like a past Anderson, like a prime Anderson Silva in his youth, and put that
hmm
against like the Anderson Silva of the current day. I mean, he had his unanimous decision against Derek Brunson, sure, which was 2 years ago. So I'm pretty sure he still has that rust on him, even though he says he's been training every single day outside of the octagon. But looking before that, I mean, obviously he had the short notice fight against Cormier at UFC 200, and then he had that. I think it was Bisping he fought right before that
hmm
too. Just comparing the two at their current state, yeah, man, I don't see Stylebender like missing or slipping up in any respect. I see just a complete obliteration of the
Yeah,
once great Spider. That's just my take. I don't know. What do you think, Yusuf?
I think it's basically, yeah, I agree with what you're saying. It's gonna be like it's gonna be like Vader against Fedor, but
Yeah.
I feel like Anderson Silva might give a little bit more than what Fedor gave Vader.
Hmm.
But I still feel like Stylebender, he has he's younger. Obviously, he's younger than him. I feel like he has his he's not like Anderson Silva past his prime. He's just starting to scratch the surface in his career. So I feel like this is going to be a stepping stone to in my opinion, a legendary career for Stylebender if he can finish his idol. I mean,
The,
he said, like I just saw something on Twitter that Stylebender said, he's like Anderson Silva was the reason why he started to like to fight.
yeah, yeah,
In
I know
MMA,
exactly what he's talking about.
and then after he said, "But I'm gonna be the guy that takes him out of it." So that's like he's
It's a
hungry for it. Like
it
he
could be
wants
a
to slay him.
self-fulfilling prophecy if that ends up. I mean, like ever since we saw Stylebender come into the octagon, I think it was against Rob Wilkinson was his first fight. I was watching Countdown the other day, and like the way this guy just moves and his ability to just like his fight
Yeah, it's just
IQ is
fun
just
to watch.
unbelievable. Yeah, he's just so fun to watch.
Even if you're not a fan of like, I feel like even if you're not like if you're a casual fan of MMA, I feel like even if you watch Style Bender, like
Hmm.
you'll be entertained by him.
He
So
is the
that's
full
like,
package. Yeah, there's bright things
yeah,
ahead
he
for
can
him in his
draw.
future.
He can draw a very like young crowd to the UFC.
100%. He just has that quick wittedness about him. What do you think, Marcus?
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like I said, I just think this is the kind of the typical classic old guard, the old lion versus the new up and coming stud. Win-win for both fighters. I mean, if Anderson Silva is able to beat Israel, a title shot has been promised to him apparently or allegedly. So there's that aspect, and then again, it's like, oh, Anderson Silva beat this young and up and comer. Was he, and then people would be saying, well, was he ready for the big fight? Did he, get caught up in the big lights? So there's different things to it, but I just can't see that happening. To me, it's going to be Adesanya either in the first or second round by
He's going to play
KO.
with him a little bit, I feel like.
Different aspect too.
Different aspect too.
Yeah, different aspect too is Adesanya was saying pre-fight that he's worked on his wrestling. He's brought in some wrestlers. He might pull an old, maybe he's playing mind games with Silva. Maybe he actually does use his wrestling and shows off a little bit of his takedowns. And I think
it should be a stand-up war.
But I think that might be a good strategy just to kind of get Anderson thinking. And but either way, I just see Israel Adesanya able to do his thing, outbox, outstrike.
Isn't Anderson a black belt? Isn't he a black belt in jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, he is a black belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I just think in terms of he's always had problems with wrestlers. I mean, most of his losses are against wrestlers or the more notable ones are the times we've seen him struggle in the octagon. To Weidman twice. One, I guess, was him breaking his leg, which was
that's nasty.
The knockout, and then obviously against Chael Sonnen, there was that kind of difficulty in their first fight. And then I guess moving on, we'll kind of end on this note. Moving on to the main event, which I see as a pick'em. This is a sort of one I'll point
definitely a pick'em.
Kevin Gastelum,
Robert Whittaker, Kevin
my
Gastelum.
boy Bobby Knuckles.
I think there's two keys to this fight on either side. The keys for Kevin Gastelum are on the feet. I think his power is going to come into play.
I think he's got the hands. I think he's got.
Yeah, he's great boxing. Kevin Gastelum has great boxing. His hands are. They are
crisp.
He's got hands of stone. I mean, what he did to Bisping, and I mean, it was Bisping in his last fight of his career. But
right after GSP, but he slumped him, man.
His hands looked really good, really fast. The weight cut too. He's moved up from 170 where he missed weight a lot.
Thank God.
I mean, he looks fuller. He looks stronger. He might be a little short, but I mean, I think Kevin Gastelum and his wrestling. I think those are the two keys for him to win this fight. His power and his wrestling. For Robert Whittaker, I think it's his takedown defense, obviously, and I think it's his own volume punching. I was talking with a classmate today about the fight, and he said the volume strikes. Definitely think, and that's a very good point you made. I definitely think that's a key for Robert Whittaker is his volume punching. He's been able to show that he does have a chin. I mean, he did get wobbly from Romero.
From Yoel twice.
Yeah,
he's shown heart. He's always in it. Another key aspect, I don't know, I guess I'll pose this question to you since I kind of went back and forth, but what do you guys think? Last 3 fights or 2 fights that Robert Whittaker's been in, he's been hurting. Not hurt per se, maybe rocked. In the Yoel Romero fight, he wasn't rocked, but he came out with some injuries, his knee. He had some tears in his knee ligament or strained his knee. Whatever it was.
And I think he also got a staph infection too. Was it not way back in like January? Yeah.
And then against Romero, he got rocked. He came out with a broken hand or broken arm. He came out with some banged up injuries. Do you think those injuries are going to play a role? Do you think, if this ends up being a war or a drag him out fight, that Robert Whittaker might not be able to withstand Kelvin Gastelum, who's young, hungry, looks fit, looks healthy? What do you guys think?
I mean, like,
man.
I think Gastelum, I honestly think that Kelvin has been on this incredible run so far, and he's always made it adamant. I mean, go ahead and just look at his Twitter handle. That was like the same thing for like the last 4 years or so, on a mission for gold. I think this new weight division and his discipline and his just general mindset going forward is really going to pose a challenge to my boy Bobby Knuckles. But at the same time, I mean, I honestly think that these past injuries and these past health issues that he's been having, I don't think that they're going to pose a problem. He looks healthy. He's been training a lot. He's been doing his thing in Australia and training. And I've been taking a look at his general mindset and his mental health going into this thing. He's been working like with the youth and doing his own podcast as well. I think those things are key in the rehabilitation of a fighter coming off like such extravagant injuries and health issues. So I think he's in a holistic state of health.
He's in a good space.
That's what I was trying to say. He's just in a general good space, and I think we're going to see
important.
exactly. And I think we're going to see like prime, like Ronaldo Souza getting a head kick from Bobby Knuckles. I think we're going to see that back versus Kelvin going at this Saturday. So I don't think it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, I'm totally 100% with you, Damien. I feel like he hasn't fought in when was his last fight against?
I think it was June or July of last
Robert
year.
Whittaker.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bobby
Yeah,
Knuckles.
Was it of
I
20,
believe it was in
2018?
June. Yeah,
Or
it was. Yeah, it was
Oh,
2018. It was 2018. His last fight was against Yoel Romero. I believe it was in June or end of July. I can't
May have been
remember.
may have been end of July. I think. Yeah.
yeah. So I feel like if like his injuries I feel like he's healthy. If it seems like he's healthy, he's ready to go. I feel like if he wasn't, then he would probably. If he wasn't 100%, I feel like he'll pull out of the fight. But he's gonna fight this Saturday, so I feel like he's ready to go. And as Damien said, I feel like he's in a good space right now, and he's ready to go and defend his belt. I believe. What is this? This is the second or the first? Did he defend his belt yet? I can't remember.
Defenses.
Yeah, he defended against Romero.
Oh, defending against yeah. So this is the second time he's defending his belt.
Mhm.
So I feel like he's gonna be ready to go and throw some hands with Gastelum. And
Yep.
I honestly like Gastelum. I kind of want to see him win a little bit because of Ali Abdulaziz. I want to see one of his clients get another belt, and that's what I feel. But I feel like it's gonna be a war. I feel like it's like a pick 'em and choose 'em kind of fight. It's
Yeah.
like it's pretty even in my opinion.
It's definitely a pick 'em like what Marcus said.
Yeah, it's a pick 'em
But
because
if I were to go with one, then I can't go with anyone other than
yes,
my
me
boy
too.
Bobby Knuckles. So
Man, if I had to pick one,
I give it 4 rounds. I give
might
it
have
4 rounds
I
before
might
somebody
have to
gets
give
clipped.
I might have to give the slight edge to Gaslam because of
Mm.
his ability, his wrestling abilities, and also the power that he possesses, like with his hands. I
Mm.
feel like those two is very, very like he does it very, very well, and I feel like he's gonna cause problems for Robert Whittaker.
Well,
But I
getting back
also
to
feel like
oh yeah, go ahead.
Whittaker is also gonna bring the fight to Gaslam also. I feel like
Yes. Mhm.
he's gonna attack him also. But at the end of the day, it's gonna be a really, really good fight, and
I,
I'm
I,
excited.
I was watching Dan Hardy break down the actual fight, what
Yeah.
he thinks, because he's such a aficionado when it comes to breaking these things down. And like Mark, getting back to like what Marcus said too. Yeah, Bobby Knuckles is known for his volume that he does, and
hmm
also Dan Hardy mentioned that when he comes forward and he tries to close distance, he's always keeping his hips straight, like square, which means
hmm
like he can like extend his limbs and just like go for you for like whether he's like setting up a 1-2 and then that head kick that he's always known for. So that's
hmm
something that I think Gaslam is gonna really have to deal with. But again, like I think he can because, like you said, his wrestling is so pristine. So we're in for a really good treat at the middleweight division, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, Whitaker is on a 9-fight win streak. Just looking out here, so he's been. I mean, I didn't think it was that long of a win streak, but a 9-fight win streak in the UFC. I mean, that's no joke. I mean,
Yeah, it's no
like
small feat.
if I had to pick a winner, see, Gaslam's cardio, I
Tough.
think, is a big factor here too. The longer the fight goes, it just depends how. I feel like if the longer the fight goes and Gaslam is just using his wrestling and ground and pound and kind of grinding out the fight, I think that does pay some advantages to Gaslam, and I can see him eking out a decision win. But if the fight is kind of if the majority of the fight is on the feet, no matter how well maybe Gastelum is with the exchanges, uh, as long as Robert Whittaker is not getting kind of grinded out on the ground, I think Robert Whittaker is going to have the edge and he'll be able to squeak out a decision. Can I see Kelvin Gastelum get finished? Yeah, I definitely could. Can I see Robert Whittaker get finished? Yeah, I definitely could. My
Mm-hmm.
pick for the fight, I don't know. I can't. This one I can't call. This one I'm gonna go with as a pick 'em. I'm gonna cop out with as a pick 'em. Adesanya though, my pick is definitely first or second round TKO.
With you on that
It
too.
depends. If Anderson is able to show that his chin is there and his wits are there with him on the first clean shot, I think it'll take a little bit more to finish him, but he will get finished. If not, it'll be early. It'll be very early. And then boom, there goes Adesanya. Might as well put him on a rocket ship because he's going straight to the top. Other than that, I mean, just to wrap up, boys, we got a couple different events coming up soon as well. We got the return of Yes We Came. About
Yes,
8 days later,
in
8 days
Arizona.
later, in Phoenix, Arizona, it's Francis Ngannou. We'll definitely get into that one. I believe a post fight should be done for that one as well.
Definitely a post fight for that
both
one.
fights are going to be coming in hot, buddy.
Oh yeah,
Santos, Derek Lewis, another fight night, and then the return of Darren Till against Jorge Masvidal. Maybe another fight with maybe a fight with Leon Edwards definitely going back. So we got a different couple fight nights. Keep an eye out. Subscribe, like, share for Fightonomics on YouTube, on Spotify.
we say tell your friends.
You want to spy?
Post fight analysis should be coming in.
Yes, sir.
Dependent on schedule getting together, but definitely we'll be breaking down what happened here at UFC 234. The fight nights, what's to come on the super stacked UFC 235, which
that's gonna be a hot pod
all on its own. I think that might just be a whole hour dedicated to that.
Yep, 100%. Can't wait for that.
Definitely. So again, episode 6. Like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, give it a listen, rate it on iTunes, Spotify. And we'll definitely see you either for a post fight or an episode 7. We'll kind of tease you on that one. A post fight or episode 7 will be next, but we'll see you guys then.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Peace.